It is vlog 204, and I'm coming at you in the middle of an epic win streak. 12 winning sessions in a row. I'm going to try to get it to 13 here in just a minute, and at the end of the vlog, I'll calculate how much money I'm up over the course of that particular win streak. But before we do that, we have big news, and that is that the PEPPERMILL PokerPALOOZA is back for the second time, coming up April 7th through the 17th. Now, those of you that attended the first Palooza probably are interested in coming back. And if you haven't, I can guarantee you, you're going to want to check this out. I told you last time that the tournament fields at these Reno tournaments have a tendency to be a lot softer than what you tend to see in Vegas and other places. And let me tell you how many people disputed that claim. I'll give you a hint. It was the same amount of people that could properly throw a football for the San Francisco 49ers in the second half of the NFC Championship game. Listen, this series is going to be absolutely epic. $800,000 total in guaranteed money, 300 of that coming in the main event itself. And there's 33 total tournaments, and a lot of them have a reputation for being just extremely fun, different type tournaments. We'll put the link to the entire schedule in the description below. And if you're going to come here, you want to stay at PEPPERMILL, obviously. Nowhere else in town compares, and you can get 20% off your stay just by using the promo code DEACH23 when you check out. Click the link to go to the PEPPERMILL website and book your stay for the second edition of the PEPPERMILL Poker Palooza. An overlook of the city of Reno on yet another snowy day in a very ridiculously snowy winter. I just welcome you into vlog 204, riding a streak like Will Ferrell in old school. We're going streaking. 12 wins in a row going into this vlog, and I fully acknowledge that the idea of win streaks in cash game poker is meaningless, and if you really got stubborn about the whole idea, it could be counterintuitive if you tried to keep it going when you shouldn't. But all that said, I'd still like to get it to 13 today. I jump into the 0-5-10 winner's straddle game on table 1, which was full before 11 a.m. And for the first time in months, included the Pro MC. And by the way, if you play in the game and don't know who that is, don't ask. All I know is it felt good to go the last 3 months without having to listen to anyone politicizing going to Costco. First hand I'd play would come when I'd open Queen 9 of hearts with 2 callers en route to a Queen Jack 6 flop. I'd bet 40 and got min raised. I opted to just let this hand go right now, thinking I was out-kicked, but that ended up being a mistake as I got shown the exact same hand. I would then lose another $125 to that same guy when I raised 50 and he 3-bet to 125, and after I called that, I swung and missed on the flop. Hardly a shock with ace-king. I then pick up jacks under the gun and raise to 35, plus 1 decides to call in the straddle. So with 75 in, we're heads up to 7-8-9 rainbow, and being first to act here, I bet 50. He doesn't think about it for very long and makes the call. So with 175 in, the turn is another 8. Not the greatest card ever, as he's definitely calling 50 with all of his 8s on that board, but it's obviously still going to be a bet with an overpair here. So I make it 80, and once again, he calls. So with 335 in, the river is a 10, giving me the straight. Now, I probably had the best hand anyway here, so I need to try to get paid off by his 2-pair possibilities like ace-9 or ace-10 here. So with that in mind, I decided to just bet out for 140 into that $335 pot. And he does give this some thought, but after about 30 seconds, decides to slide in the chips, creating a $615 pot, which obviously we're going to be taking down. I show my hand, and he shows a 10, and I rake it in. We then see the power of the 6-4 suited, flopping a straight with a flush draw to go along with it, and doubling up against pocket queens in a $3,000 pot. We then get an interesting hand. It comes when you get 2 limps, and I have ace-jack on the button and make it 50. Reno Grinder actually calls in the blind, and the limper calls as well. So with 210 in the pot, the flop comes out queen 9-10 rainbow, and the guy who I thought was a pretty tight player leads out into this for 120. With my open-ended straight draw, that could certainly be a very profitable situation should a king come in here, so I'm not going to be folding. The interesting part was that both Reno Grinder in the big blind and the under the gun limper both decide to call as well. So this pot has already ballooned to $690. The turn comes the 5 of hearts, and it gets checked to MP2, who this time bets 350, leaving himself basically the same amount behind. With the 2 players behind, and knowing that one of them certainly has a very strong hand or he wouldn't be in there, I opted to just let this hand go. Reno Grinder called the 350, which I didn't necessarily expect. He had ace-queen of hearts in that spot, ended up bricking the river, with MP2 taking the pot down with likely 2 pair or a set. This is a mid-session update. I just spoke to Bugsy, one of the characters on this vlog that you've seen over the years if you've been watching. And he is now just embarking upon, for the first time, the final season of Breaking Bad. I cannot express the level of jealousy I have that he gets to now witness this greatness for the first time. And that's followed by Better Call Saul, which I actually have as even better than Breaking Bad. That's the end of a jealous mid-session update.
You're goddamn right.
The button straddles, and I look down at kings in the big blind. The aforementioned Reno Grinder limps in under the gun +1. MP1 min raises to 20, and the straddle calls the extra 10, and now it's on me. I raised to 70 here, hoping for 1, maybe 2 of these guys to come along. Instead, in typical Reno poker fashion, I get all 3 of them. So with 280 in the pot, the flop comes out 8 deuce 3 2 diamonds, and first to act, I'm going to bet 125 here. To my surprise, the only player to call me was RG. So with 530 in, the turn is the queen of hearts. He only has 220 left here. So this becomes a clear-cut all-in, though I did think there was a chance that he could be trapping me here with the monster. He doesn't take too long with it, but he takes long enough for me to know that I was ahead and decides to call. So the pot is $970 with the river coming out the jack of diamonds, so he didn't have a flush draw. He doesn't show, pretty clear though, he had pocket 9s or pocket 10s. Under the gun 1 limps, MP2 limps, and I am in the rock MP1 with jack 10 of clubs, and after the button raised to 30, both limpers and I decided to call. So with 120 in, the flop comes out jack deuce 3 rainbow, and it gets checked to the button, who bets 35. And as you can see, no one folds. So with 230 in, the turn is the jack of spades, giving me trips. I can't let this just get checked through here. But I do want to minimize the damage if I happen to be outkicked, which is definitely a possibility. So I decide to bet 80. Once again, I experience a scenario where out of my 3 opponents, the last one I thought who would give me action is the one that does. And with 420 in, the river is the single worst card in the deck for me. It is the 6 of spades, bringing in 4-5 and backdoor spades. And this guy decides to bet out for 140 here. And as you can see, I don't even take 5 seconds before folding trip jacks. I was not expecting to get a look at what he had. I was just so confident in the fold. And it turns out I would get to see it, as he got there both ways, with 4-5 of spades, hitting the straight and the flush. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Out of all the poker players in this room, I was curious, who's your favorite and why is it me?
Oh, well, let's just say maybe it's your charisma and the fact that we went to the same high school.
McQueen Lancers.
All the way.
I gotta say, that is a phenomenal answer.
Absolutely.
That's why you are a true
Two great lines.
fan fave. I would then have to decide whether or not I should switch tables. It was close. The general policy should be, if it's close, don't do it. That's a policy I wish I'd listened to on this day. I would decide to go over to table 5, where the legendary Mr. Z and one other pretty loose player was. I'd get queens right out of the gate, but get no action with every player in their seat except for the aforementioned Mr. Z, so I don't get any action on it. I was then in the winner's straddle, and you'll never believe what hand I had. I know it's a shock. Once Mr. Z did get into the game, I would play 3 small pots against him and lose all of them, giving him about 200 or so in the process. And I then did something that you definitely shouldn't do if you want to try to maintain a winning streak. I decided, since he does it to me so often, that I would try to bluff Mr. Z with the skinny. And write this down because this is high-level poker advice. Don't bet when your opponent calls with 6-7 of clubs and flops a flush, because that is what I did. Thankfully, he raised the turn, because had he slow-played it for one more street, I think I'm probably finding an excuse to fire the river with 3 high, and obviously we know how that would have gone. So I'd lose some there, and then I'd lose about 100 more in the next hand, doubling up a short stack when his pocket jacks held up against my king-queen. We then get 3 limps, and I have pocket aces on the button and make it 40. And it shouldn't come as a shock that all 3 of these guys called, along with the big blind. So with 165 in, the flop comes out queen, 9-10, 2 spades, and it gets checked to me. I bet 125 here, and it folds to under the gun. He's a player who's kind of a calling station at times. So when he decided to check raise to 275 here, I didn't know what to do. I don't see him doing this with just a queen. It's possible he could be making a move with the nut flush draw, but the likelihood is that he already has flopped the best hand here. So I obviously hated to do it, and I'm certainly going to get some comments indicating how I shouldn't have. But rather than call 2 more big bets, I decided to just fold this hand right now. There are a lot of opponents in this game where I know it would be the right fold, and there are a lot of opponents in this game where I know it would be the wrong fold. This just happened to come against one of the guys where I'm not sure, so I just have to hope that I made the right fold in that spot. We then see how playing a pair and a flush draw is always tough when a lot of money goes into the pot. Player on my right shows me that he has the franchise, a nickname with no origin story, but a nickname that I like. He ends up getting put all in with top pair and a spade draw. He makes the call and is correct, hits the flush on the river, but loses to a guy who just happened to have jammed all in with the nut draw. I then get aces again. This time, not going to get outflopped. This time, I'm going to make some money. This time, I'm going to turn it around. Or, as was the case, I raised and everyone mucked and I won $5. Fortunately, when I had queens right after that, I did at least get some action on an 8-8-7 flop, but that preceded a quick turn fold. The next 2 hours were pretty miserable. And the worst part was, the game which I left on table 1 got really good. And the guy who I'd gone to play with on table 5 subsequently table changed to the game I had just left. So, nothing was going right. But given how well things had been going over the course of the last 2 weeks, far be it from me to bitch. I would run out of time, given the fact that I was playing on a Wednesday, I had a hard out to go pick up my son, I'd rack up and book the loss. All right, well, if I can record the intro video to this vlog on the down escalator, I can do the opposite, leaving. Winning streak's over, $1,038 loss, just a miserable last couple of hours. And it was all because I made the wrong table change. Some days the water flows east, sometimes it flows west in terms of the game that's the best one, but well, this time the game that I was in got good after I left. Apparently right now it's really good, according to Bugsy. One guy has had way too many alcoholic beverages and is doing a lot of shoving. Anyway, all good things can't last forever, can they? All right, so instead of getting an actual question of the week in here, let's just pay off what I pointed out last week, because I do enjoy having some fun on this vlog and incorporating some of the people that I play with as sort of characters into this vlog. And, well, there's no greater character than Mr. C, a.k.a. Slick. And, you know, Slick's not exactly poor. So he tends to pretty much eat out on a regular basis. I just can't see Slick at home being like, I'm going to throw some chicken in the oven. I think I'm going to cook a little broccoli on the stove. Like, I just can't see Slick doing that. And he announced to the table last week that he got a look at his credit card statements, and it actually categorized these purchases. So he was able to figure out exactly how much he spent at restaurants on his credit card in 2022. And I asked you guys to guess exactly how much that was. And I must say, I am not stunned that a lot of you guys were right around it. No one got the exact number at last check, but Ryan Robb wrote in and said $27,500. And the actual number that Slick threw out there was $27,900. So to be that close, I just find amazing. But then again, to see how many of you guys nailed the 33% $1,000 decisions, I guess I shouldn't be shocked that this too would be something that you guys would get. Oh, and since a lot of you guys did ask about this, obviously the streak ended on my attempt to get it to 13 wins in a row. But as far as the actual streak itself and how much money I made during that streak of 12 straight wins at Cash Game Poker, $14,428, or about enough money for Slick to eat out for 6 straight months.